The next segment is the government segment, of which I host, Nick Barber. I had the pleasure of interviewing Marc Gronich. Marc is the president of Statewide News Service in Albany, and he'll be talking about his career, a long-time career as a journalist in the Capital Region. Let's watch this interview. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Impact. I'm Nick Barber, your host. Today we're going to have an interview for the government segment, and my special guest is Marc Gronich. Marc and I are friends. We haven't seen each other a while. He has a very varied and interesting background, and he is the president of Statewide News Service.
Mm-hmm.
And
thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, Marc. Welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
It's great to see you. We had a nice little pre-conversation talking about some things from the past. Marc, tell us, what's the Statewide News Service, and when did it start?
Well, I started out in 1981 when I was just graduated from college at University at Albany. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get a job. I was too young. People said people were older, they had families, they had better reasons to be employed, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to start it up myself. I had very low overhead, just...
How old were you?
I was 20 years old.
20 years old? Just off of lollipops.
That's right.
That's all right. That's great, ambitious.
Yeah, I started college when I was 16, graduated when I was 20.
You did? Oh.
And even when I was in college, I was doing reporting at the Capitol. I started working with WAMC, and I started with the Carey administration.
Okay.
And then I covered the full 12 years of the Cuomo administration.
You seem so young. Yeah.
And then I did a couple of years of the Pataki administration.
Oh, wow.
And then I realized that over that period of time, whether you're a Republican or a Democratic governor, the issues remain the same, but the names and numbers change to protect the innocent.
How true.
But the issues all remain the same.
Yes.
And I got tired after 16 years of doing the same stories over and over again.
Yes.
And just rewriting the sound.
Just plugging the names in.
It just got to me.
Yeah.
So then I started to work on the other side of the fence, and wanted to see what came to me as a reporter, how did it get started? So where did it get started from? It got started from the staff level. So I started to work in the assembly, and I worked for a freshman assemblyman, helped get him reelected. So then and I worked for him, and then I just didn't like it. After 5 months, I didn't like it. It was October to March.
Yeah.
So then I said, I got to get out of here.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people who were calling the office asking for appointments to the governor's office, and they were all being referred to the Dutchess County chairman, Republican chairman. And I said, well, if that's working there, I should go to the Albany County Republican chairman and see if that would work.
Yes.
So I went to George Scaringe. I called him up. He said,
George,
meet me at Wolford's Roost.
Okay.
And we had a little chat, and he goes, you know what, forget the administration, come work for me.
Really?
And I said, yeah, that's exactly what I said, really?
Yeah, that would be my response.
And I said, well, do you have to get this approved by the chairman or board or something? No, I'm the one, I say goes, I need you. So I get into the office, I start working April 1st. They're still using DOS.
Oh.
Didn't even have Windows.
Oh.
Had a mailing list of 8,000 names where a third of them were Democrats, because Mike Hoblock had ran for countywide office.
Yes.
And in order to get elected in Albany County as a Republican, you got to know a lot of Democrats, and Democrats have to support you.
Yes.
So a third of and he didn't code the list.
Oh.
So the list stayed, and no one looked at it. So I'm like, what are we doing here?
You had a mess.
So I had to turn all that around, and we tripled the amount of money that we raised, and we were actually able to get candidates to run, and we were able to win a few seats, a few more seats, and that lasted about 2.5 years.
But he was right. He needed you.
There it goes.
He did need you because it had to be turned around, and you did it. Good.
They were raising $80,000 a year before I got there, and I raised it to $250,000 a year each year for the 2.5 years.
Terrific.
I was on track, so I more than tripled the amount of money that they were earning before I got there.
Yes.
And it was all because the list is really important.
Yes.
It's who you're going to be doing who are you asking?
Yes.
So we had this. So I had that training, and then I moved on back to Water Technology magazine.
I saw that in your resume.
And I never thought that cryptosporidium and giardia would be in my vocabulary. But it was an interesting experience because it got me more into the web. It got me more into the online news reporting. It got me to see another way of distributing news to a select audience,
Yes.
which were water treatment people.
Yes.
So a friend of mine calls me, it was about the year 2001 or 2000, and he says, you know, he's into mapping and redistricting, and
Right.
so he says, you know, I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, you know, why don't we try something here? So, you know, to go around to different counties and map out do the redistricting for each county government where they draw the county lines.
Good
They
idea.
don't have that in Schenectady County
Good
because
idea.
they have at-large, or they have in certain districts, they have a different method here.
Yes.
So, we thought, gee, this would be good. Well, it turns out we got 7 counties that we redistricted, and a lot of them were Democrat, but some were Republican, and it was weighted vote. It was it was different formulas for
Yes.
redistricting. It's amazing that anything gets done in the state. It really is when you
It's a
think
little
about
complicated.
it. But Sullivan County was a Democratic county when we started, and then through someone wanted off the board, county legislators, and then a couple of others switched from Democrat to Republican, and in the middle of the 6-month contract, after 3 months, the county legislature, without a vote, flipped from Democrat to Republican.
It just happened.
Guess what? Got to start over again,
Yeah.
because the Republicans wanted the lines drawn differently.
Oh my goodness.
And we even drew the lines in Albany County.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how consistent it is that people will say, I don't like that person on that block. I don't want that block. They
Yeah.
know block by block.
Or they have 10 votes in that family and they're
That's
against
right.
me.
And they
Yeah,
say,
sure.
you know, I want
Yeah.
that in someone else's district. I want this. And they
Yeah.
get that minute.
Yes.
You know, it's like, and
They're paranoid.
but in Sullivan County,
Yeah.
even though the Republicans got it their way,
Yeah.
it flipped back to Democrat.
It did.
After the vote.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And now it's like
Go figure.
9-2 Democrat.
Is it? Yeah, I've been down there in a while, but I remember.
redistricting didn't really
Yeah.
help the Republicans.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they were doing, one or the other.
Yeah.
But basically, you know, you have to follow whatever the chairman of the county legislature tells you.
Yes.
It just says no rationale as to
Yeah.
whether it's Republican, Democrat.
Right. But who's got to give the
So-
final approval to the redistricting
The
submission?
legislature.
Yeah, so
And if whoever
does
the
that become
controlling
political
party-
too? I mean,
Yes.
how's, a stupid
is.
question, I guess.
Because you
but,
gotta meet
I mean,
with-
how does it work when it hits the fan there? What
Well, you
happens?
have to meet with each of the legislators.
Yeah.
Even though you're going around the district
Yeah.
with public hearings,
Yeah.
you still got to meet with each individual county legislator, and then they tell you at that point, I don't want this. I don't care what the people are saying.
Yeah.
I don't want this block.
Yeah,
I don't want
right.
that block.
Yeah.
You know, this is more compact. I like it over here. I like it. Why does it have to be this? Why does it have to be that? You know.
That's a tough charge.
Oh.
That's a difficult
And in Albany
business.
County, there are 39 districts.
Yes. Yeah. 39 legislators in the. I
In
think
the
Schenectady's
county.
got 15 now.
15, but
Yeah.
there are counties larger like Erie County that has 15.
Yeah.
I mean, so Albany County having 39 is really a waste of
I
time.
always thought that Albany County was overloaded with legislators.
Yes.
There's too much representation. It could be cut in half.
That's right,
you know,
easily.
but I guess I'm not the only one that
You're
feels
not
that
the
way.
only one.
Yeah.
So then I went to, I got through with the redistricting process, and I really I started up my own business
Mm-hmm.
again, and I started sending out news reports, a newscast every day. I collected over 6,000 email addresses.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started emailing through constant contact,
Yes.
and I would write up 5 news reports every day,
Wow.
whether it would be entertainment, sports, mainly government, 3 government stories, and maybe 1 entertainment, 1 sports. But if I could do 5 government stories, I would.
Yeah.
And
You're
then,
a perfect guest for the impact here today. This is great. That's a great match.
So I started to do.
Yeah.
I started to do those emails every day,
Yes.
consistently, and it went about 7 months when I got a phone call from the Senate Democrats
Okay.
that they needed someone who actually could write English to help out in the
Really?
press office.
Well, that's a compliment. Good.
And they liked what I was writing. They
Yes.
saw the objectivity, and they didn't care whether I was Republican, Democrat. I was a
Yes.
blank at that time.
Yes.
I changed my
Yeah, that's
enrollment.
probably a good idea
You know,
in business.
after I left the Republican committee,
Yeah.
I just simply
Yeah.
became a blank. So,
Yes.
or after the redistricting. you know.
Yes.
So then I said, so I asked them, got a nice salary, and I left that and I went to work for them. And then I helped them take the majority. The Senate Democrats took the majority.
Yes, they
all
did.
hell broke loose.
Yep.
And there were some Democrats in the Senate Democratic Conference who, the only good Republicans are dead Republicans. They really do feel that way.
I know, that's sort of hard line.
And there are some Republicans who
Yeah.
feel the only good Democrats are dead Democrats.
Yeah, it's really...
and then there are the rhinos and the dinos and the
Yes.
Republican in name only, Democrat in name
yes,
only.
yes.
But it really becomes where they, if you have any sort of trace of a Republican tinge in your background, that you can't change your stripes, and that you're always tainted with that.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'm an individual.
Yes.
I have a free mind.
Yes.
So
yeah.
that's
Especially
how
in your position and your background.
Well, that's
now.
how
It's
I
not-
view life.
It's not as if you're a committeeman and you're a political party person.
When I worked for the Republican committee, people thought I was a political operative. Okay, they need a label for
yeah,
something.
right. That's in
So
their
it's a
mind. Yeah.
Political operative.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. But anyway, Senator Breslin really came up to me and said, when I started working for the Democrats, how come you didn't tell them, how come it wasn't on your resume? I saw your resume. You didn't have that you were director of the Albany County Republican Committee. How come you didn't have that? I said, Neil, you're supposed to have a resume that's one page in the past 7 years.
Yes.
This was longer than that, and it would have been on the second page.
Yeah.
I told them verbally when I was interviewed that this could be an issue,
Yes.
but I wanted them to know, and the folks that interviewed me didn't care.
So you disclosed it. Yeah.
I disclosed
Yeah.
it. I'm an open book,
Yeah.
but he didn't care. And that's what bothers me about the system,
Yeah.
is that they don't have this lack of cooperation, this partisanship. It's growing. And that's why
Yeah.
a lot of people don't want to run for office. I remember when Saul Weprin was Assembly Speaker and when he was an assemblyman, he'd have a poker game at one of the hotels in Albany, and he'd have Republicans and Democrats come and play in the poker game.
Well, yeah.
But
Good
you
idea.
couldn't have that now.
Yeah.
It didn't matter whether
Good
you were
idea.
Republican or Democrat. You were a poker player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to know each other,
Yeah.
and you were friends. You can fight it out on the floor of the assembly. You can have your disagreements, but you could still be friends.
That's it.
But apparently there are some other people, like Senator Liz Kruger from Manhattan and Senator Breslin and others, who you see in the hierarchy now of the Senate Democratic Conference, who are just more partisan than they want.
Yes.
They want the issue more than the solution.
Yeah. Well, you've been watching Impact. This is our government segment. Our special guest is Marc Gronich. He's the head of the statewide news service. We're just about running out of time, Marc, but gee, we want you to come back because this is very interesting stuff, and you fit this program and our ideas perfectly. Before we leave, just tell me a little bit more about statewide news service. What's your typical day like? What do what's your experience?
I started out customizing news reports for radio stations around the state.
Yeah.
And I had ultimately had 50 radio stations that I would send reports to. But now the radio stations are more of a conglomerate, and there are fewer independent radio stations.
Yes.
So I'm now retooling my company to be have more of an online presence, and it's called NewYorkMattersNow.com.
Okay.
Because New York matters, and matters now, and it all matters to something matters to someone.
Okay.
So I'm going to cover all the issues.
That's great.
And we're going to have a lot of video on the website, NewYorkMattersNow.com.
All right, we'll try to put that up on our screen when we
Okay.
air the show, and that's terrific.
you.
NewYorkMattersNow.com. Well, Marc Gronich, thanks
Okay.
so much for
Been a
being
pleasure.
here. I haven't seen you in a while. We have much more to talk about.
You keep getting younger.
Well, thank you. You must want to borrow money. How much do you need? We'll talk about our younger
talk
days when
about it
we were in
later.
the movies.
That's right.
Yeah, that'll be another story.
That'll be
But
great.
please come back. You've been a great guest. Thank you for being here. I'm Nick Barber, your host for Impact. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Proctors, bringing the best in arts, education, and entertainment.